InvestaFest 2022 is brought to you by these major partners: Atram, To Trade Asia, and these other partners. Do not forget to share your experience and learning on social media. Use our official hashtag InvestaFest 2022.
Our next set of speakers are the people behind Taxumo. So Ginger is the COO of Taxumo, a tech company with a system that automates the computation, filing, and payment of taxes of self-employed individuals, professionals, and freelancers. She's the blogger behind mommyginger.com and blogger behind GTV. All of her businesses revolve around the mission of helping entrepreneurs start their own business and help them sustain it. She has also been a speaker in various events where she talks about entrepreneurship, women empowerment, marketing, social media, and even mommyhood. Along with her is EJ Arboleda, the CEO of Taxumo. So Taxumo is a Filipino fintech startup that automates tax compliance. He has more than 17 years of experience in the IT industry in the fields of project management and application management as well as support. EJ is a certified PMI project management professional or PMP, an Exin certified ITIL V3 expert, and a SAP FI certified solution consultant. He is also a speaker for topics related to entrepreneurship, starting a business, project management, and others. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to our speakers, Ginger and EJ Arboleda.
Hi everyone! We are so honored to be part of the InvestaFest 2022 lineup of speakers. Thank you for inviting us Investagrams. We got to know the founding team when we were both starting our new ventures in 2016, and we were both in the same batch of Idea Space, a local tech startup incubator. So kudos to the Investagrams team for growing and helping a lot of people when it comes to learning more about how to become financially independent and free. But before anything else, we'd like to introduce ourselves. My name is Ginger Arboleda. I am the Chief Operations Officer of Taxumo. Taxumo is the business that we started together. It's an accredited tax service provider of the Bureau of Internal Revenue or BIR, which helps businesses, professionals, and freelancers, or even digital workers prepare, file, and pay their taxes anytime, anywhere. This SaaS, or software as a service, makes tax filing easier and cuts down time spent on taxes to less than 15 minutes. I also have my events management business called Manila Workshops. I am also a content creator for mommyginger.com and Ginger Arboleda in IG, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok, where I talk about mommyhood, business, personal finance, investing, and productivity.
I'm EJ Arboleda and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Taxumo. I also create content and create with Ginger videos for her YouTube channel named Ginger Arboleda. We also started a gaming guild last year called Team Arbo, where we handle around more than 50 scholars who play NFT or play-to-earn games, primarily Axie Infinity. I also stream games on Facebook and Twitch under Team Arbo. Aside from these, I am a consultant for some private and government entities.
On a personal note, EJ and I have been married for 12 years and have two lovely young daughters, one who just turned 9 just recently and one who is still 5 months old. Now that you know us...
So I'm sure you have heard everyone say, never go into business with a friend. And naturally, people tend to extend that to never go into business with a family member. And more particularly, never go into business with your spouse. That's not an unpopular opinion. In fact, we've even met investors who don't take a second look at Taxumo once they find out that Ginger and I are married.
So when EJ and I were invited to speak, we immediately knew what we wanted to talk about. Rarely do we see talks on couplepreneurship or copreneurship as it is formally called, even if we have met many couples in business together. In our 5 years in business together, we have learned a lot along the way from both positive and negative experiences. But first, let's start with some statistics. According to the study done by Maciek and Nilika in the University of Economics in Prague, And we quote, "The results indicate that couple-run companies are more profitable than non-couple-run companies. Couple-run companies perform better from the point of view of shareholders. Profit margins of couple-run companies are also significantly higher than non-couple-run companies."
There are inherent advantages to having a couple-run business. The most obvious one is having a shared vision of the future and the inherent trust that each spouse is trying to make that shared vision a reality. Because of that, it's easier to work cooperatively and to support each other in pursuit of that shared goal. Next, you both have a shared set of values that you hold dear and that you insist on in the course of business. Because of that, it's just easier to work with your spouse. Also, it's so much easier to be resilient if you have your spouse to be resilient with you. During challenging times, they're right there with you, so they know the support each one needs to go through difficulties.
There are, of course, some challenges that you have to align on as a married couple. First, you have to make sure that you spend time with each other outside the context of business. So this is true for any couple, but it's especially true for copreneurs who spend most of the day already with each other. Second, have a clear division of responsibilities and decision making. It is very important that you hold each other accountable for those assigned responsibilities. Also, it's important that you give each other the freedom and the space to perform those assigned responsibilities in your own way, as long as they are performed with a shared set of values in mind. Lastly, welcome dissent. Having a different opinion or a point of view is a good thing because you'll be able to consider more possible scenarios in decision making. Don't be one of those couples who resent their partner because they think otherwise. Do not equate having a different opinion with having a different feeling about you.
With those things out of the way, it's important to find out what business you want to get into. A great guide that you can use is the Ikigai framework. Find out one thing that 1. You're good at, 2. You love doing, 3. You can be paid to do, and 4th, something that the world needs. The interesting thing about being a couple is that being two people, you're probably already good at two things. In our case, for example, I provide the expertise when it comes to numbers and tech, and Ginger is a natural at creating operational excellence.
When it comes to finding that something the world needs, we recommend going after a problem so big that you probably won't be able to solve it. Is that defeatist? No, because whatever dent you make in solving that problem will always bring the world closer to finally fixing it. With Taxumo, for example, we wanted to solve the problem that most small businesses have, which is taxation. Solving the issues with taxation is something that we normally relegate to the government. Let's just hope that the Filipino people finally vote for the right person who can get things in order. Now that's defeatist. We believe that by fixing that issue, we can help make a better business environment for more Filipino business owners, the lifeblood of our economy, employing more than 60% of total Filipino workforce. We have helped more than 1,000 business owners with their taxes. Our Net Promoter Score is 76, which means that our users are very happy with our service. The average NPS score, just to share with you, of a software as a service is 30, and we're way beyond that. We have helped roughly 1,000 businesses, so 956,000 more to go.
Also, you've heard this said a million times in a lot of different ways. The bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity. Now, what exactly does that mean? First and most obvious, people would be willing to pay to solve a big problem. Second, and Ginger alluded to this earlier, big problems affecting a lot of people means there's a lot of potentially paying customers. A big potential market is always a plus in any business. Third, there's a lot of space to play in big problems. Once you've solved one part of it, it's easy and natural to move on to a related part of it and start earning money in that area, either via horizontal or vertical integration. The movements are also natural, so those moves don't translate to a lot of business disruption. For example, in Taxumo, we also process SSS and Pag-ibig payments. Yes, including the popular MP2 payments. They're not taxes technically, but it's an easy horizontal shift for us because the work needed to make that happen has a lot of overlap with the work that we already do. It's a plus because, hey, it's another problem that people are also willing to pay to solve.
Now let's talk about finding what you're good at. So in starting a business, it's important to recognize and to know yourself. In solving a big problem, chances are you as an individual would not be enough. Having your spouse with you automatically doubles what you're good at. But chances are the two of you might not be enough. So now, here comes co-founders and partners. It's important that you look for co-founders and partners who 1. Share the same set of values as you. 2. Share the same vision of the future, at least business-wise. 3. People who bring the skills you need to the table. And 4. Are people who you would want to work with. These 4 criteria, I would say, are also things to consider when going into business with your spouse. Even though you share the same set of values and you share the same vision, are you each able to bring something different to the table? Are you both people that you'd want to work with?
Okay, so now, here comes, can you be paid to do it? It's a whole course in itself, but I highly recommend following a rigorous process of validation, trying to prove whether people would be willing to pay for your services. If you follow the scientific method, mainly informing hypotheses and then creating cost-efficient experiments to validate those hypotheses, then you can actually determine whether a business will fly early on without having to spend anything. To give you a more concrete examples, one of the early validations that we did for Taxumo was in determining whether the professional market was a segment that would need the services that we wanted to offer. In validating this segment, we didn't create Taxumo as a system yet. We held Tax 101 workshops for the segment. Afterwards, we interviewed them. We saw that our market was in young professionals. Later on, we asked for quote-unquote currency in the form of contact info. If they were willing to be bugged later on by us, then that probably means that they're willing to pay for this service. And we just grew it from there.
The last piece of Ikigai is asking yourself, is this something you love? This was a tricky aspect for us because as people, everything you do for the purpose of earning a living inevitably turns into a job, and the boredom and general frustration that comes with it. What we have learned is that even if we do some things that we don't love in our day-to-day, we do love trying to solve that big problem we set out to solve. We do love the challenge of figuring out customers and what they want. We do love seeing our people growing in their roles, learning things we ourselves don't even know. We do love seeing the positive impact that we make in our customers' lives. And that keeps us going.
We've gone through how to check if you'd like to go into business together and what kind of business to get into via the Ikigai framework. Now let's go through some of the things and tips that we can share when it comes to growing a business while raising a family.
The first thing on our list is always be aware of the Pareto principle by Vilfredo Pareto. The Pareto principle states that for many outcomes, roughly 80% of the consequences come from 20% of causes. So in business, look for that 20% that you need so that you can focus on that and get that 80% result. Knowing this for your business will help you focus your time on the things that matter. With this, you will have more than enough time to spend with your family and children.
If you really want to end work at a certain time, use visual cues that will remind you to do so. If you always look at your calendar for appointments or the next task that you need to do, add time with family to your calendar. For us, we even add meal times to our schedule so that we can all eat together as a family. Nothing will pull us away from the dining table since we have allotted time for that.
Separate your personal finances from your business finances. I personally know too well how it feels to combine the two. Doing this made me accumulate a huge credit card debt, which we actually vlogged about in our YouTube channel. I'm glad that we overcame this challenge and brought down my credit card debt to 0. But as they say, prevention is better than cure. So please open a separate bank account and credit card for the business. Have separate tracking for your personal finances and also your business. It's really tempting to occasionally just charge it to your personal finances with the thought that you'll get reimbursed anyway at the end of the day. But it will be harder to track as you develop this bad habit.
For tasks to be done or projects to be finished, remember Parkinson's law, that work expands to fill the time allotted for its completion. So what does that mean? This means that you should avoid analysis paralysis. Give yourself a deadline for decisions you have to make. Give yourself a deadline for work that you have to have completed. This is true for a lot of perfectionists out there. So just focus on getting your work done by the deadline that you set, and you'll be able to overcome that reality that we call Parkinson's law. And bonus, you'll be able to overcome analysis paralysis.
These are just some of the things that we do to manage our lives while running a business and raising kids.
We do hope that you learned a lot in what we shared today. A lot of what we shared are things we hoped someone shared with us when we were starting out.
We hope this encourages you to look at copreneurship in a different light and seriously consider if going into business with your spouse is something for you. Honestly, I wouldn't say it's for everyone, but for us, we wouldn't have done it any other way.
Thank you so much, and we hope that the rest of the InvestaFest is filled with learning as well.
InvestaFest 2022 is brought to you by these major partners: Atram, To Trade Asia, and these other partners. Do not forget to share your experience and learning on social media. Use our official hashtag InvestaFest 2022.